Hey, what is going on, guys? I am Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. This podcast is part of the Across the Board Sports podcast family. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co host, the greatest co host in the world, Mike the Pig Crumb. Mike, how are you?
I feel like I'm not the greatest co-host in the world right now. I did a shout out to a bunch of other podcasts and called Brian Broaddus and Jeff Kavanaugh's Trust the Tape podcast. I called it Tale of the Tape.
Oh, God,
Listen
yeah.
to every episode of that podcast. If you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I seriously feel like Leonardo DiCaprio in that scene. Where he's like, nobody knows you practiced your lines and you practiced them. I felt just like that. I was like, now everybody thinks I'm like, man, I literally love Trust the Tape. I cannot believe I put Tail of the Tape. God, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, I actually saw that tweet and I was surprised because I saw you apologizing to Broadus. Like you're like saying this is as bad as the Micah Parsons called, and I clicked on the original tweet and I'm like, he called it "Tell of the Tape." Wow.
I can't believe I did. Like, it was early that, sometimes they forget I'm West Coast. So, like, I sent that tweet, it's like 6 a.m., no coffee, and I'm trying to get all the podcasts in, and that one doesn't have an at. So you're trying to, like, okay, put in, and you just, Tale of the Tape's such an old, that it just, I don't know why it like popped in my head and I put it in there. And when he put that, I was like, trust my podcast culture. I put the name of the podcast on there, and I went back and read my tweet. I was like, I am so embarrassed, dude. Oh my God. And I'm going to go to, and now in my mind, like they're not going to, I've been on with Jeff Kavanaugh. He probably doesn't even remember me. Like he does. But in my mind, I'm going to go to Oxnard this year and they're going to be like, oh, the Tale of the Tape guy. Yeah, there he is. And I'm going to be like, no.
Hey, if they do say that, you should consider yourself lucky, right?
That would be actually pretty. I wouldn't put it past Jeff to do that just to screw with me. But if Brian did, I would be like, oh my God, he remembers that. I'll take it. I would be like, okay, at least he remembers who I am.
Hey, the fact that he even quote tweeted you is pretty cool, dude.
Yeah, I did it twice because after I apologized, he was like, it's cool, man, no big deal. And I told him, I was like, nah, dude, I deserve to be dragged for this. This is so bad. I was like, oh God.
For somebody of Brian's status, he's actually pretty active, like with the quote tweets and the retweets and everything, dude.
I love Brian, and he's great. Like people think because like he doesn't get everyone right. He's a Super Bowl winning scout. He is great at scouting. Like
yeah,
he's awesome. And yeah, people get shit wrong all the time. That shit happens. I thought Micah Parsons was the fourth best linebacker, dude. I mean, like, if you took that take, you should never listen to me again. But I also am right a lot. Like I've nailed some of them. So, you got to go.
He might be the fourth best linebacker, but he's probably the best football player,
right? And can I tell you, like, I love him. Like his attitude, his mentality. Like, I don't know if I started a team, I might, and it has nothing to do with it. Forget it. Even if I loved him, just from after the draft on, forgetting about what happened pre-draft, just how he plays on the field and his attitude and how he approaches the game, he's my favorite football player. Like there's no one in his vicinity. Like I just love like coming in at 6 a.m. with Dan Quinn. Like, all right, I got shit to do. Like 6 a.m. Like can you imagine? He's gonna have an whole off season to learn stuff, and he might have been the best defensive player in the league. And guys, I don't care how talented you are, he doesn't know shit right now. Yeah. He doesn't know shit. Like he hasn't seen it yet. He would probably tell you like the game goes too fast for him. But he's such a freak that it looks like he plays it faster than anyone else. Like it looks like he's anticipating when he's probably a step behind. We just don't notice it because of how talented he is. Like I am so excited, man. There's not a like I love Dak Prescott. He's second. He's like Michael Parsons is the only reason I keep Prescott first because he's a quarterback. Otherwise, I'm not taking a single player over Michael Parsons. I think he's that kind of of player. He's just, man, he's amazing.
I know it's only 1 year, but my Micah Parsons to the Cowboys Ring of Honor is looking like a good prediction, sir.
Bro, just put him in now. I don't even care.
Dude.
Do it before the second season starts. Health, knock on wood, health.
You know, we're going to discuss it here in a little bit, man. I can't imagine if he's like the focal point of this defense, what his numbers will look like in year 2, dude, with Dan Quinn back again.
Man, and Dan Quinn coming back is going to be, I know we talked about it before, it's going to be enormous for him and Golston and Osa and all the guys that are with Boss Man, all the guys that are within a 1 to 2 year window that are young and upcoming. Having that continuity is going to be incredible.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, we were talking about Twitter. We're talking about quote tweets and retweets. Let the people know where they can find you, sir.
Right there on the screen for y'all on YouTube or watching the video at CD Piglet. Nice and easy. Letter C, letter D, Piglet.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. Well, Mike, here it is. We are on our regularly scheduled program, Monday, of course. And before we discuss any football, let's talk a little bit about Meatless Monday. What was on the menu today?
I went meatless for everything but dinner. Dinner, my buddy got pizza, and I'm not going to make them get cheese pizza. So I just took a couple slices. So I broke it at the end, whatever. But I had a really good lunch. I did zoodles with sliced garlic, cherry tomatoes, red pepper flakes, some really good olive oil that I bought. And then I made this pesto that was from the reset, but it was so good that I don't think I'll ever not have it in my fridge. Like I would just always have some of that in there to where if I make something, I could just put pesto on it. So yeah, I had it's zoodles with tomatoes, garlic, and then I put the pesto over top and a dash of some olive oil. It was good.
I'm curious about this pizza. Are we talking Little Caesars or what are we talking here?
No, they got me and Ed's, I think it was. It's good. What happened is Denny, as you know, we talked pre-roll. You know who Denny is. He came over and asked me to order him a pizza. He was going to be by himself at home. And I said, yeah, no problem. So I order it to my house and I take it over because I don't want, people to know he's there by himself. So I got the pizza. And when I was doing that, our roommate was like, hey, get me something too and get the house something. So I ordered for here. I ordered for there and had it all delivered to the house. So yeah, it's just one was double pepperoni, extra cheese. And the other was pepperoni sausage and Canadian bacon. And then they got like garlic breadsticks. It was okay. I'm not really, me and Ed's and Pizza and those don't really do it for me. That's why I was like, I'll just take a couple slices or whatever and have it so I don't have to worry about making anything or doing anything. I go shopping tomorrow. So the truth is, the real truth is the zoodle dish took up all the rest of my vegetables and I haven't had time to go to the store. And so I need to get cauliflower. I need to get mushrooms. I need to get more tomatoes. I need that stuff to make a dish for Meatless Monday, and I didn't have any of it.
Back to that pizza. Are you a big fan of like the all meat pizzas?
Yeah, Pike's Peak from Mountain Mike's is really good. I really like that. Mountain Mike's is fantastic pizza. If it's anywhere in your area, whoever's listening to this, that's really good pizza. A little expensive, but it's really good. I'm trying to think, is there anywhere else I get all meat? Really, that's it. The Pike's Peak is, or if I get Papa Murphy's that you take home and bake, I'll get that with like a stuffed pizza with the all meat, so I get it occasionally.
Yeah, Papa Murphy's is pretty clutch, and their stuffed pizza is really good.
Papa Murphy's, man, don't get no fake take and bake. You go somewhere else, not always that great, but Papa Murphy's, as good as letting them cook it and deliver it to you. Papa Murphy's is that kind of good pizza.
Yeah, my wife and I used to get that all the time, and I love me some Papa Murphy's. Well, Mike, let's start talking some football. And over the weekend, we had the Pro Bowl.
You said we talked a little bit. Not whatever that thing
is. Yeah, whatever that. Yeah, I don't know. I have no name for it. I can't be clever tonight, Mike. But did you watch the Pro Bowl?
No, nope, did not. I didn't even watch the highlights like on SportsCenter. I don't know who won. I know that Trayvon Diggs picked off Mac Jones because Cowboys Twitter had that, and that Micah Parsons sacked Patrick Mahomes. Minus those two things, I didn't watch it. It's not football. nothing related to football. It's nothing close to football. I don't watch it. It's terrible.
I actually I watched the highlights last night, and it was I guess it was, if you want to say this, it was worth seeing, but it was pretty cool to see Trayvon going up against Diggs, like for a route. He didn't end up catching the touchdown, but I thought that was pretty cool. Overall, though, when looking at them attempting to or pretending to go after a tackle and stuff like that, it was, you and I didn't miss very much.
No, wait, the way you said it, so Trayvon Diggs was the wide receiver?
Yeah, Trayvon was playing wide receiver snap,
Oh,
and
that's
Stephon
cool.
covered him.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I'm surprised I didn't see that. Maybe I saw it and I just don't. I wasn't paying attention enough to notice.
I was surprised because I actually I watched it on YouTube. I'm surprised nobody on Twitter was talking about this.
Yeah, because I saw the other two plays, but if I saw that one, maybe I thought I just slipped it in my mind and I thought Trayvon was just guarding Stephen Diggs, and I was like, oh, okay, and didn't really pay attention because I don't remember that at all.
I don't think, I think a lot of people feel the way that we do about the Pro Bowl, Mike. If you could change something about the Pro Bowl to make it better, what would you change?
I would make it a NFC versus AFC skills competition. So you have, for an example, quarterback, longest pass at the accuracy one, and one other one, like a mobility plus accuracy plus deep or whatever. And then each of the three quarterbacks, you can only do one for each one on one side. So like AFC would do Josh Allen for the deep ball or Patrick Mahomes or whatever. And then, NFC would have to try to match them. And then you get points for whichever side wins. And then I just do that for every position. You find a way to do it for whatever, for O-line. You find a way to do it for wide receiver and running back. And then you do something like that. And that's how I would do it. More of a skills competition, because then there's no real chance of anybody getting hurt. But it's more fun. Like there's real competition. Like the problem with the Pro Bowl is it's not real competition. Like if you made it a skills challenge and put money on the line for it, Josh Allen's going to throw the ball further than Aaron Rodgers. They're actually going to try to defeat each other and get a point for their team. So yeah, I would do something like that.
Yeah, Mike, for me, I would actually change a couple of things. And one would be, I'd like to see them adopt the All-Star Weekend format that the NBA has. Kind of like what you were saying is, maybe on Friday night they have like a rookie versus sophomore game. And then on Saturday, we could do that skills challenge that you were mentioning. And then, the dodgeball game. But then, of course, on Sunday, have the main game. But, maybe add these changes. Let the leading vote getters from the AFC and NFC be captains, and then they can pick their own teams. And instead of tackle, maybe make it flag, just because at least, nobody's getting hurt, and they could still be fun and competitive. They could maybe play at a faster speed. And again, nobody's getting hurt. And what I would think would be the biggest change of all is, instead of playing before the Super Bowl, play after the Super Bowl like it used to be.
Yeah, I agree. Just let that week be about the Super Bowl. The Pro Bowl could be after, because then a lot of people watch it going, okay, this is all the last thing we're going to get before, next season. So they watch it. But having it right there between like all those great playoff games and the Super Bowl upcoming, it's just like a drag.
How nice would it to see it like maybe be played in June, where it's like the worst month of the off season, and it's like we get a little taste of football. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know how many people would be in shape for it.
Yeah, that would be a bit of a challenge to have it that far out, but it would be nice to have some football of some sort in that month.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna if they have any leagues going. That how the XFL is going, or Canadian or whatever. I wonder if they have anything in between and how good a ratings those do.
Apparently, my father-in-law, we were talking the other night, and they're bringing back. Was it the CFL? I thought he said they were bringing back, or one of those leagues. So at least we'll have something to keep us distracted at least.
Well, you can see how much I watch it. I don't know. I have no idea. They could already be going or whatever. I don't even watch college, because I think it's inferior, like, product. I don't watch much college football, because if I'm going to watch football, I want to watch the best play it. So, I don't watch a lot of college. I don't watch a lot of Canadian or XFL or any of that stuff.
What about indoor football?
No. And no, I don't watch the girls one or anything
Oh
like that.
God, lingerie football or whatever.
Yeah. Well, a lot of guys don't watch that for the football reasons, because
Yeah,
I'm not on that list.
yeah.
It's fine
We'll
if you
move on.
do. No,
Yeah,
hey, do you?
nothing wrong with admiring beautiful women, right?
Yep.
Well, moving on here, Mike. What were your thoughts on Dak electing not to play in the Pro Bowl?
I think that means that injuries to him were a bigger issue than he let on, because that's the kind of thing that he would typically do, go to the Pro Bowl, spend it with CeeDee Lamb, stuff like that. And this year it's like, fatigue on that leg. It takes a little bit to come back from an injury like that. Um, it typically takes a year from a bad leg injury like that to really
Yeah.
fully come back. And you could tell that he wasn't running enough. Like the coverages that teams were running, they knew he didn't want to run the ball. We've seen that breakdown of Kurt Warner that we talked about, where the middle linebacker was just jetting off towards CeeDee Lamb right when Zeke would go out on the side, in a route. He would jet towards CeeDee Lamb on the curl because they knew the play and they knew Dak wasn't going to run there and they weren't going to adjust anything. So I think injuries were a big issue with, after that calf strain. And that's why we saw such a steep decline from how excellent he was the first 6 weeks
Mm-hmm.
to the end of the year, where he was just, solid, above average quarterback.
Yeah, I'm happy that he did it, because not only did I think he needed a physical break, but probably a mental break from everything from the year prior, then the off season, and then the season itself. I'm glad that he took that time away. Honestly,
I agree 100%. Take the time off. It's about, you got a window here. You legitimately have about a 3-year window with a nice young team and a good quarterback. And if you can get your offensive line set back and maybe, get one more piece to help you in the run game, you have a legit chance to make a run these next couple of years. So do everything you can to prepare for it.
absolutely. A story that was dominating Pro Bowl weekend, Mike, were Stephen Jones's comments about Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence. What were your thoughts on those?
It just shows that our GMs are bad. Jerry
Uh,
Jones and Stephen Jones are just not good front office football people. They aren't, and maybe when they had no cap and Jerry Jones was winning 3 Super Bowls, they were good because he'd spend what he needed to spend. But now that there's a cap, they're bad. One, they're bad at manipulating the cap. They're just bad at it. They're not as good as other teams at manipulating the cap to go ahead and sign a guy or two that could put you over the top, even if down the road a couple of years you got to make moves to get under and stuff. You go all in 1 or 2 years, especially these next 2 or 3 years. It's the time to make that move.
mhm.
It shows they're really bad at getting big contracts done. Tank cost them money. Dak cost them money. Zeke cost them money because Zeke held out right away, so there was really nothing they could do. It's not like they waited on him. But the Tank one waiting cost them a ton of money. Dak waiting cost them a ton of money. Like they are just bad at that stuff. And like I said, they're bad at knowing when to go all in. You got a window right here. The Rams are in the Super Bowl because they went all in. And
Right.
a couple of their moves I would not have done. But still they're there. And if they win it, then they were right. This ain't you can't, if you get a chance of winning a Super Bowl, you take it. You don't hope that you're in it for 3 years. You go for it for this one, So hopefully they learn a lesson from that.
Yeah, Mike, me and myself, I was actually bothered, not just bothered, but very, very bothered by those comments. The thought of losing both Amari and DeMarcus Lawrence this year is very scary to me.
Yes, here's the thing, and I'm going to come across as the guy as I always do. If we lost Tank and Amari, it's not doom and gloom for me. The offense is really good. If you told me we cut or traded Cooper and we were able to bring back Cedric, Michael Gallup, and Turner for the same, 12 to 16 million it would have cost to bring Cooper, I understand that. I get it. You get 2 special teams players. You get more depth. Gallup's a 1,206 touchdown receiver once already in his career. CeeDee Lamb's had over 1,000 yards now. He's going into year 3. He's going to have to get paid soon. I would understand that move. And Tank's over 30. He's been injured a lot. The defense was much better with him, but they were still pretty solid without him. I understand both moves, and I think that you could win with both guys gone. But I don't want to do that. Like, I would rather at least keep one of them. So, it just makes it tough.
Of the two, who would be the bigger loss in your eyes?
As of the team right now, with no Gregory and no real linebacker that allows us to move Parsons over, I'm going to go Tank would be the bigger loss. He's also the worst contract, though. That makes it tough. Cooper would be a big loss, but I mean, you have CeeDee Lamb. You drafted him for a reason. He's a high end receiver going into his 3rd year. It should be his breakout year, typically for receivers. Before recently with the Justin Jeffersons and Jamar Chase's going crazy in year 1. Typically year 3 is when a receiver really makes a big leap. So it would hurt, but you could make easier moves to replace Cooper than you could to replace Tank with how the team is assembled now. Now you sign Gregory and you bring back Curse to be a linebacker safety. And, then you go into the draft and you can go, okay, yeah, Tank makes more sense. Parsons might be able to be a defensive end with Gregory. Maybe they bring back Armstrong, But as of right now, Tank's my bigger loss. I don't trust the team.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, Mike. It's Lawrence for me as well. If we lose both Lawrence and Gregory, our defensive line will be in big, big trouble. And the defensive line was our strength last year. So, if we were to keep Tank and we lost Gregory, I'd still feel pretty good about our defensive line. But to lose them both, and I'm not sure how good I would feel about it if we were able to bring back Gregory, but we still lost Tank just because of what all Tank can do.
Yeah, they would need, like, I like Basham, I like Golston. They need to have definitely one of Gregory, Tank. Let me ask you, what if they could get Gregory and Dorrance Armstrong back, but they had to cut Tank to save the $8 million?
I'd feel good because of what we saw from Dorrance Armstrong last year, giving him some more snaps, and then another a year with Gallimore hopefully starting the season, Osa being a year back in the league, and with Golston as well, and hopefully maybe adding another piece to the defensive line in the draft. I feel pretty good about Dorrance and Gregory as our starting defensive ends.
Yeah, and then being able to bring the pressure Parsons could bring at times would help you there, and then Basham is a pretty solid defensive end. I like him as a backup. So, I wouldn't mind that. If they brought back Gregory and Dorrance Armstrong and had to make a move with Tank, I would be okay with that.
It's a scary thought to think about all the guys we could lose off the defensive line.
Yeah, I know. I just think it's different when you got a guy like Parsons. He's just so good. Basham, Gallimore, Osa, and I don't even know who would be out there right now. Chauncey Golston is not a scary line, but I just feel like the front seven's got to be piecemeal right now. We got to see what they're going to do. Is if you bring back Armstrong and Gregory, now I'm like, okay, good. But if not, you got to work the draft for an edge for sure, even if you're keeping Tank this year, because he's over 30 and he's a huge cap hit, and it starts to get to where you can cut him easier after this next season. So edge is probably going to be pretty important in this draft.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, if it were up to you, out of Amari and Loris, who would you keep?
I would keep Amari. I would restructure him. You could still save $12 million. And I don't mind. He's a young receiver still. He's a couple months older than Calvin Ridley, which everybody wants to give a first-round pick for him. Like, I love Calvin Ridley, by the way, but I mean, you got to pay him a ton of money in a year anyway. So it makes no sense. Yeah. Restructure Amari, move his money, I have no problem paying him the money the future years. I think he's the number one wide receiver. I think Cooper's problem was more about the game plan of Dallas and the non-scheming of Kellen Moore to like, hey, no matter what, the first read's Amari Cooper right here. Like, no matter what you see pre-snap, let's see what he does and then move. It's more of a, hey, whatever they show you, take what you can get. And you end up with a lot of checkdowns that way, which is what happened this year, if teams are playing that shell that they were. So I don't think Amari's problem is a dip by Amari. I think it's a dip in game philosophy and planning.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, Mike. But for me, I'm going Lawrence. Our defensive line needs a veteran presence, and without him, we wouldn't have one. I just think to lose him and Gregor would be too much. Even to lose him, I'm still not feeling great unless I knew that we were bringing back both Gregory and Armstrong and adding another piece, maybe in free agency or in the draft. As much as I love Amari, I think our team would take a bigger hit losing Lawrence.
I just go back to last year when we had a inside linebacker and Tank breaks his foot. Gregory gets suspended. Dorrance Armstrong hurts his hamstring or whatever. And they were like, all right, Terrell Batson on one side, I guess we'll bring in, Parsons. We'll just have to move him to defensive end. And he just dominates the world. So I don't know. I just think linebacker would worry me then. But I think in the end, even if you had to get totally different people and you started with Basham and Parsons as your defensive ends, Parsons is just so good that it's your linebackers are going to be bad. You need to sign one and maybe use the first two picks. Do Nakobe Dean and Chad Muma, as your linebackers. But I just think when you have Parsons, you can survive at the edge position next year.
I think that's the beauty, though. It's that if you have a guy like Tank or if you have a guy like Gregory and you can move Parsons around as the chess piece, that's an advantage. But when you're moving him out of need, then you have that void at linebacker. It's like, man, what's going to happen now?
I agree. You would much rather free him up to just be an inside linebacker, but one that could do whatever the hell you need him to in any friggin' play.
Mike, with the name drop of Chad Muma, you think he's going to be a second round pick when it's all said and done?
Yeah, he'll be a second round pick. He's Sean Lee-ish. He's just so it's a thing of philosophy. So I love Damon Clark from LSU.
Clark,
yeah. Super raw, gets fooled a lot. Misdirection fools him right now. He doesn't always see it, but he is uber wingspan, uber speed, can edge rush, ticks the boxes that says possible Micah Parsons if he puts it all together, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. Chad Muma ain't got his length. He hasn't got his strength. He hasn't got his speed, but he'll beat everybody up here. Everybody. Yeah. He sees it first. He studies better. His instincts are excellent. He's a very good tackler. He's not a power shed guy, which is Sean Lee too, but he's a great run player, a tackle machine. And so with a guy like Parsons, as much as, my God, if you got the right coach with Clark and you had Clark and Parsons, oh my Lord. But I think I would go Chad Muma because I already have the freak in Parsons that could do all that other stuff. Get me the guy that goes, hey, Parsons, he's going to do this right here. And then you're like, oh my Lord. It's a tough, because I believe Dan Quinn would go Clark. They like guys with length. He's probably the longest linebacker in the draft. They like versatile guys. He could edge rush. He has speed. He has wingspan. So I think Dan Quinn would take Damon Clark. I think the scouts would take Muma. So it'd be interesting if that came a thing at 56, which way they would go with that if both were available.
Yeah, thankfully it seems like this draft class is linebacker rich. Maybe not so much with the freaks, but at least with good talent, some day one starters in this class that you can find in the third and beyond.
Wouldn't surprise me if they used one top 100 linebacker and one day 3 linebacker. Wouldn't shock me at all. They need a lot at that position.
Yeah, depth will be key for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. So, if we lose both Lawrence and Amari, are there some guys in this draft that you think could offer the same production?
You know what it is I don't think it's as much draft as I think that like CeeDee Lamb should be able to do what Amari Cooper does. Now I know last year he had more yards and everything, but understanding like he should be the guy that defenses go, okay, we got to key on him like they did with Cooper. And then it's about getting someone to replace the Gallup and Lamb production, like a Turner or Cedric Wilson. Maybe you could draft to replace there. And then tank, the idea would be bring back Gregory. And then you need somebody to replace Gregory's production. Do you bring back Armstrong? Do you draft someone there? So maybe you put Parsons at defensive end more and you draft a linebacker. So that's the thing is they have so many free agents that it's hard to make a judgment on that because what are they going to do if they bring back Curse and LVE and Gregory and Dorrance Armstrong? Well, then that changes your draft up on what you need if they get rid of Amari. Well, now wide receiver becomes more than defensive end and linebacker because look what they re-signed and look who they let go. Gallup and Amari Cooper are gone. Now you better use a top 56 pick on wide receiver. You know what I mean? So it's just until they start re-signing a few guys, it's too tough to know their angles that they're going to have to take in the draft.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of starting to get a vibe. We'll definitely discuss this later in the offseason, but that this is going to be a draft where we target a lot of needs. Yeah. And that kind of scares me a little bit,
Yeah, me too. This feels like one where they won't do their job in free agency to make sure that there's not holes, and they'll go in needing a left guard, needing a linebacker, or needing an edge. And then if the board doesn't fall right, you look ahead and you go, well, there are a lot of linebackers late. So even though this insert name here is available, we better go with this other spot because we need that more and it's not dead. And then the guy you get's not as good. And then the guy you got later is not as good. So you mess yourself up.
Right. Yeah, that's a scary thought, Mike. We won't get too much into that because that actually could be an entire episode on its own.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Like I said, until they start signing some people, it's too much to panic about right now.
Yeah. Mike, some other Cowboys news over the weekend. It's Kellen Moore's going to be coming back. This is back-to-back seasons where he's been a hot name for a head coaching gig. Are you starting to think that maybe he might not be head coach material?
Yeah, it isn't just that he didn't get a job, but it's like who else didn't get, like Eric Bieniemy didn't get a job again.
Yeah.
So he's going to be a candidate next year. Sean Payton is probably going to be back in the league next year. There's another job taken if someone's fired. There's new OCs that came in, like the Niners one this year that got one, that the Colts defensive coordinator that got one. So every year there's going to be a new group of people that are going to come in open for head coaching jobs. So, maybe Dak's resurgence in a year, a year off of that injury and everything, and he's back to the first 6 weeks and pulls that off for a full season. Maybe that opens more back up, but right now it doesn't look great for him. He interviewed plenty, which is good, but man, after that first 6 weeks, he just seemed like a lock. And now, I don't know, Doug Peterson got a job before him. Like, tough.
Kellen Moore doesn't strike me as a leader of men type. I don't see head coach when I see him. I see an offensive genius, and maybe that's what he should, kind of continue to work on that craft. And, once he has a little bit more success and proven, then he could take another chance to be a head coach. But I think he's still got some work to do as an OC before he takes that next step.
Yeah, that's one of the things is if you notice in the big game, sometimes the offense comes out flat. That could be a reflection on the OC too. Like, I know the head coach, but offensive coordinator can get that offense going and ready to go. And, unfortunately, it didn't happen in the big games.
Mike, shout out to our guy, Frankie Kenneth. He left a couple of comments here. He said, I'm keeping my expectations for this season quite low. I won't fall for the hype this year. I think that's a common theme with Cowboys Twitter right now. And then also he said, if Sean Payton goes to TV, he's likely off the market for several years. I don't see him doing so for just 1 year. I mean, with the relationship that he has with Jerry, from what I'm hearing, I think if he got a chance to coach the Cowboys, he would immediately take that job and leave TV.
If Mike McCarthy doesn't win a Super Bowl next year, Sean Payton's going to be the head coach here.
Can you imagine
he
if
signed a 10-year deal TV? He's going to coach Cowboys.
Can you imagine if we, going into the 2023 season, we have Sean Payton and Eric Bieniemy and hopefully Dan Quinn, that coaching staff, dude?
Ooh, I just like to
nasty,
say on Frankie's other comment, I'll say it just like I told Wedge Busters yesterday when he was talking about Dallas. It's going to be the quarterback. If the quarterback comes back okay from injury and he's the guy from the first 6 weeks, line him up in the playoffs and let's see what happens. Because if that guy shows up, we're going to walk the NFC East. And then it comes down to, is Green Bay, do they have Aaron Rodgers? How's Rams again this year? Or is Seattle back to form? Are the Niners back? Line them all up. If I got Dak from weeks 1 to 6, I'll be, happy and ready to go. If it's not, then yeah, I'm going to be worried about the team for sure.
There's not too many players that I believe in more than I believe in Dak, and I know that when you have a guy like Dak, he's always going to give you a chance. My concern is knowing that Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat, not knowing what this offensive line is going to look like, knowing Zeke's a year older, not the possibility of losing Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence. I'm kind of getting almost some like 2010 vibes with this team. Wade Phillips last season with the Cowboys. We know what happened there. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting early in the offseason. But I tend to panic a little too early. You're the calm, cool, and collected one of the two of us, Mike.
I don't get up and down too much like that. I was talking to Dan about that, before, because he's so down right now. And I'm like, man, I wish I can get angry with you like that. I just don't. It doesn't work for me because you just don't know year to year. What if in the draft, if you hit another Parsons, type, and if you do another Lamb Diggs or hit a Parsons or something, say you get a left guard that's just Quentin Nelson. I mean, it's just, if you line that up, it's going to be hard to stop that offense regardless, because you won't be able to play that coverage because we'll run on you. And I just don't get up and down like that. I will say this does have the feel of a toss away year, though. It really does. I mean, nobody feels confident in Mike McCarthy. All of us are waiting for Sean Payton. If you want to talk about contracts, I'm sorry, but Tank and Zeke after this year have very cuttable contracts, which will open up space for you.
Mm-hmm.
Amari, depending on what they do with the restructure, is cuttable the next 2 years. So Tyron Smith, is what, another year away, maybe.
Right.
It does feel like this year is a transition year,
mm-hmm.
that if they hit enough, could be a contender, and if the quarterback's good. But it does feel legitimately like a transition year.
Yeah, and you hate to have that feeling just because the window is only so big, right? I mean, you only have so many opportunities, and you just signed Dak, and you might have just lost your best opportunity this year. So to think that we might lose another one, it's pretty scary.
3-year window, I believe they have. If the quarterback's right, we got a 3-year window right here. Get a Jordan Davis type, however you got to get him to help you plug the run and fix the O-line, and you can make a run for the next 3 years.
Mike, I'll definitely take your word for it, sir. I like your optimism. Yeah, we'll stay level-headed. The coaching opportunity that Moore lost, ended up going to the gentleman from the San Francisco 49ers there for the Miami Dolphins. And, we know that Brian Flores got let go. If you were the Dolphins, would you have kept Flores, or did you think it was time for a change?
I would definitely have kept Florez. I thought he was an excellent coach. I didn't like the way he handled Tua as a rookie. I think you want your rookie to be in those situations at the end. It builds their football character.
Mm-hmm.
But in his mind, he's trying to win. And when you look at what's happened since then, I understand his mentality. I'd have kept him though. He seemed like a good coach to me. Just what I've seen so far with what he did, with what talent he had, and how his defense played and everything. I liked him, but apparently, for what Miami said, he was kind of a lot to deal with. So, does that have to do with them wanting him to lose, as has been reported? Maybe that's it, but. I would have kept him. I think Florez was a good coach.
Yeah, I agree. I thought for what the hand he was dealt, he did a really good job. But yeah, like you, I think he could have handled the Tua situation a lot better than he did.
Yeah, I don't like taking your rookie out. Like, no, he needs to learn how to play. You're basically, telling him you don't believe in him. Like, and he's put you in position to win those games, and then you take him out at the end and put somebody else in. I don't like that.
And just in his defense, in the offseason, this past offseason, it was reported that Tua said that he didn't know the playbook well enough, which I really was surprised by that. So, maybe Brian Flores was, sounds like he had reason to do what he was doing.
I'm not saying it was. I'd rather leave my guy in there and see if he can make a play. It's
Absolutely,
a rookie, man. I wanna now if he's out there getting killed by a bad offensive line, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel it was that way with Tua. I felt it was like, we can't win this with him. Let's throw in Fitzpatrick, and I'd rather just played the kid, a first round pick, fifth overall, and see what he's got.
Those late game situations can be so vital for the career of a young rookie running back young rookie quarterback, because it can be a real big confidence boost, but also gives you that late game experience where it's like you can learn from your mistakes, and knowing that your coach trusted you. That says a lot.
And you want to talk about a confidence killer? Forget not getting it done. Hey, I'll get better next time.
Yeah.
Saying we don't even want to give you the opportunity to do it, that is a confidence killer.
Absolutely, yeah. So maybe Miami didn't make the right choice, but another story came out. Of course, we know that Brian Flores, had that text message exchange with Bill Belichick, and then he later reported how the owner of the Dolphins was trying to bribe him into losing games to get a better draft pick. With all those things coming out, do you think that Brian Flores will ever coach again in the NFL?
No, you can't give away the seat. You can't tell them the aliens are out there and we know it. You can't give that type of info away. It's just how it is. So he'll get Kaepernicked. As a head coach, I do think somebody will bring him in as a coordinator, and he'll be a very good defensive coordinator, or he'll go to college maybe. But as an NFL head coach, I think it's very unlikely he will be there.
Now, I'd be surprised if any team was willing to bring him in any capacity, honestly.
Yeah. I think somebody is going to make him a coach of a certain unit, maybe build up to a coordinator, but taking over, leading the team, no, he's not going to get that.
Yeah, unfortunately not. Mike, here we are with finishing up here. This kind of snuck up on me. Actually, I think I might have messed up here on the show sheet here, Mike. So bear with me, guys.
You're on coaches getting the same opportunities.
Yeah, Mike, we're kind of getting a little bit more serious than we usually do here. But if what is it? Why do you think coaches of color and different ethnicities don't get the opportunities of white coaches?
All right, I'm going to look at the notes because I want to make sure I say that right, because I'm not the race that doesn't get. I get the opportunities. I'm that race. Like, I get the opportunities that they don't. I get the privilege that they don't in situations. So I normally don't talk on stuff like this. Paul knows really not my thing, but I think there's levels of racism. Now, I'm sure there's some owners that just won't do it because they're like, I'm not going to have a black head coach. Like that kind of like that bad. Like, I don't
That
care what it is. I'm
stupidity.
gonna do it. Yeah. Yeah. The stupid ones. I'm sure there's some, even if it's only one or two. I'm not saying 20 of the 32 owners, but I'm sure there's a couple that are like, I'm not going to have a black coach. Don't matter. It's not going to happen. Okay. Then there's like unintentional ones. Like, it's not really racist, but like they pick people from their circles. They have
Exactly. Yeah.
white friends. They talk to, their people are white. They don't have the connection to the minority community. So when it comes to something as important of a job as the head coach of their football team, they go in it like, I'm looking for this, and they don't think of it. They're not thinking of it as, I don't want a black person. They're thinking of it as, this is what I see that's comfortable, and it may be even unconscious to them. But it's still like a level of racism, like just not like a malice to it, you know? I don't think they see it and go, it's not like, I don't want my daughter to date a black, like, there's no
Donald Sterling
or evil behind it, but it's still in the mentality. It's still a thing that's in there, even if it's unconscious or not meant to be to hold someone else down, not doing it to do that, but they are doing it in the way they go about their hiring and their thought process. So, that's how it is for me. It is what it is. There's just not enough people that are minorities that get to make the decisions, and then they would see their people that they connect with, and more of them would get opportunities. There's just not a lot of them that have the ability to put that perspective in, like white people like myself have that privilege, and even though you're Basera, because of your look, you would even get more, just because you look like a white dude's, it is what it is, so I think that's what it is personally. That's my opinion, but maybe take the opinion of people that deal with that more than me, but that would be my commentary on it from my perspective.
Yeah, Mike, going back to your comment about, your inner circle, we live in a world of, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And we're seeing that now. And it's been that way for a long time now. I do think that, we probably do have a bit of a race issue, probably, with some of the NFL, not like all of them. Like you said, maybe one or two, not 20. But I think it's like, again, you know the right people, you get opportunities that others don't, and we're kind of seeing that now. It's not that Eric Bieniemy's probably a bad person or doesn't have friends in the league, but he might not have the right relationships, and that's why he might get these opportunities to get an interview, but he might not be as liked as somebody else.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bieniemy has stuff in his past, and that's another thing.
Okay, I didn't know that.
How much does the race play into, if it was somebody else that was white, a Gruden or a Manning or something like that had something in their past, would they be held to the same standard that Eric Bieniemy is being held to? Maybe it's a yes, but I mean, is it? Is it like, well, it's an excuse not to hire him, where maybe it'd be looked past if it was not an African-American coach or a minority coach that was trying to get that same opportunity.
Agreed. Looking at the Rooney Rule, Mike, do you feel that the Rooney Rule helps or hurts minority coaches when you really think about it?
Okay, so what I'm going to say is the Rooney Rule is great for African-American coaches, minority coaches, if it was really done that
properly.
Way. Yes, it's like I say about capitalism. Capitalism is perfect. Capitalism really is brilliant. It makes a lot of sense. Then it's corrupted. Then people put money into it, and instead of being, cool being a millionaire, you want to be a billionaire, and so you do things to make that happen that messes up the capitalist system, and now you have issues. That's how I feel about the Rooney Rule. I think if everybody legitimately was like, I'm gonna check 2 minority candidates, I'm going to give them honest shots. I don't know who I'm going to get ahead of time. Next year, when Mike McCarthy's fired, everybody in the world knows Sean Payton is the choice, right? So whoever they bring in for the 2 interviews, everybody's going to go, oh, that's bullshit. So if it was legitimately like, I'm looking at 2 African-American candidates first, and they have as good a chance as any to blow me away and win the job, then it would be wonderful. It's the fact that most of the people that are doing it are like, all right, let's get this bullshit out of the way.
Exactly.
Marvin, bring in Marvin Lewis. Bring him in. Yeah. Marvin Lewis. Okay, now we can hire Mike McCarthy like we want to. Go ahead.
Yeah, and no, I was just going to say in a weird way, Mike, I think it actually hurts and helps. It helps them in the way of at least giving them an opportunity to interview and, giving them that experience. But, like you said, it hurts them in a way that I think some owners interview them out of obligation and that they probably don't take these candidates seriously. It's like you said, let's just get this out of the way. And because we already have the guy that we want to hire, but we're obligated to interview these 2 guys.
Yep. That's like I said, if it was done truthfully, if the Rooney Rule was treated in good faith, it would be a great rule for minority. The problem is it's not. Most people that are doing it are going in like, okay, we have to get this over with, instead of something they want to do and giving them the full chance to get the job.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of the Rooney Rule, Mike, if you could make a rule, not the Rooney Rule, but if you could make a rule to level the playing field for coaches, minorities, of course, and African American, what would that rule be?
The rule for me would have to be that ownership at every level must include a 25% minority stake. Ooh. So like if the Joneses want to own the team, that's fine, but there's got to be a 25% minority ownership. Mm-hmm. And then as owners get into minority owners and get into the higher ups of that area, their perspective is seen more. Their inner circle is brought in more, and that will lead to more ownership or more opportunities for minorities as God, I can't believe I'm going to use this, as a trickle down effect. And obviously that'll never happen. But if you're telling me to make up a rule that would have the biggest effect, it would be to get minorities in ownership. And then their circle of people come in and everybody gets used to that circle. Everybody in the ownership meets these other people that are in there. They talk to them, they get comfortable. And then they know people that these 25% that have brought people in, they bring people in and you talk to them. Hey, you should see this person and what he thinks and yada, yada. And it filters down. There's a better way to say it. It filters down. So that would be fine.
For me, Mike, I guess I would kind of have a little set of rules, or these would be the standards, if you will. But if a head coach has coached 60 games or more and he hasn't won a division title, been to the playoffs, won a playoff game, or he doesn't have a record of 500 or better, I don't think that coach should get another coaching opportunity. So a way to bring in some new blood, maybe not just for ethnic or minority coaches, but for all coaches.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I don't mind that rule. That's pretty good. Yeah, you don't have to bring them back.
Yeah, because we see way too many recycled coaches who weren't good the first time, the second time, even the third time, and they're getting another opportunity. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, I agree. They have a lot of issues with that. I don't know why either.
Yeah, that's just, knowing the right people, man.
Yeah, that's it. People you're comfortable with. Absolutely.
All right, Mike, here we are with one word this week, and I know it's still early, but give me one word on how you're feeling about the Cowboys heading into the offseason.
I'm unsure is my word. And the reason is the team's likely to be much less talented this year. There's too many free agents they're going to lose. They're going to have not as talented of a roster. And talented players win you a lot of games. So it's hard to replace that. If we can't re-sign Jaron Kearse, it's going to be hard to replace him. We have to cut Tank or Amari Cooper. It's going to be hard to replace them. So you'd think, we're not going to be as good. The problem is They brought everybody back on the other end. Dan Quinn, Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy. Everybody's back there. So will the core that stays, will them being more in sync and better at the systems that they're running make up for the difference in talent? So yeah, Michael Gallup, Lamb, and Amari Cooper are better than, say, Amari Cooper, Lamb, and Cedric Wilson.
Yeah.
But they get another year in the offense together. So even though the talent's much less, or make it Malik Turner, because Cedric Wilson's made a lot of plays for us. But maybe the fact that Amari Cooper, Dak, the offensive line, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard are all another year in the system, maybe that elevates them past what they were, even though they're a less talented team. So my word is unsure. That's how I am about the Cowboys.
I like that word, Mike. That's a good one. For me, it's knowing that we could lose both Amari and Lawrence after winning 12 games, knowing the state of other teams in the division, and seeing the Bengals rise to success this season. I'm discouraged heading into the offseason, Mike.
How can you not be after the way the year ended? I mean, they were not. I get that the game was competitive. The game was not competitive. Kyle Shanahan coached that.
He could have smoked us by like 30 if he wanted to.
Yeah. And Jimmy G kept us in it with a couple of big mistakes, a missed throw and an interception. And Kyle Shanahan, was conservative and kept us in a game that we shouldn't have been in. So, yeah, it's discouraging. Your quarterback had a bad last half of the year. You don't know why. Your offensive line turned to trashola in what seemed like a blink of an eye. Your offensive coordinator went from let's pay him extra money so he doesn't become Boise State coach to, man, I hope he takes the Miami job. It totally flipped and everybody's bummed about it. And now you're talking about a loss of a lot of talent. So discouraging is a great word. It is discouraging.
We'll talk about a yin yang season when you go from the first 8 weeks to the last,
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. That first 6 weeks we were on here, I thought Dak was the best quarterback in the league, and our defense was making enough plays on turnovers, and you just thought they were going to do good. And man, the Zeke injury early, killing any run game, and then Dak's hamstring or calf, and it just was not the same after that.
Yeah. Well, Mike, here we are with your views from the sidelines. We're going to do Senior Bowl edition. What do you have for us this week?
The QBs stink. I'm not drafting any of these QBs. They're
not even Coral.
None of them are first round quarterbacks. None of them are really second round. If it wasn't, if we were taking away the value of the position, this is a day 3 quarterback class. But because you're gonna raise up the value of the position, somebody will go, a couple will probably go in the first round, and I wouldn't get any of them. I didn't think any of them had really good Senior Bowls. What was the one? Willis? Is that Malik Willis?
Malik Willis.
Yeah, there was one that was okay, but it wasn't. It was basically like, hey, this one wasn't terrible, so it was not good. Travis Jones, Cowboys, keep your eyes out for him. He is a one technique that Dallas covets, because he's a one technique that can get you some pass rush. And I'll say that typically I hate those because I don't want a one technique to get pass rush. I want him to not move. I want him to not be able to be moved by people. He's hard to move. So he's one that fits in my narrative of you can't move this guy in the run game. And he's one that Cowboys will value enough to maybe take in the 3rd round I don't think he'd last into the 80s, but if he did, he'd be a guy they need to look out for. The last one is, and Jeff Kavanaugh talks about this, so I'm not the first one to say it, but when somebody moves in the Senior Bowl, there's a reason for it. Zion Johnson playing at center is the example this year. That was done because a team said, hey, I want to see this guy take center snaps, because maybe his size isn't as much as it needs to be a guard, or his length isn't what it needs to be a tackle. So let's see what he can do at center. So anytime somebody moves like that, or in the combine coming up, when a corner's doing drills at safety, an edge is doing linebacker drills, just know that there's a reason for that's happening.
Yeah, appreciate those notes, Mike. So say that again. Travis Jones, where's he from?
UConn, I think.
UConn, okay.
I switched the page. I'm pretty sure he's like big one technique, but he had, I think, 4.5 sacks last year. He can get pressure. I'm going to go over him a little bit more now that I know that he's the type of one technique Dallas has coveted in the past. I need to see his length and stuff, because now that they have Dan Quinn, even at one technique, length is a big deal. We're about to talk about that coming up.
Yes, sir.
When we get to our prospects here. So that's Travis Jones is a guy that I would look for Dallas to possibly want on the defensive line.
Well, Mike, so let's just get right to that prospect. I asked you to study Mr. Fedarian Mathis, defensive tackle out of Alabama. What were your thoughts on him?
Length. So Dallas will definitely be interested, because if you look at last year's draft picks, they were all like the longest at their position. Like, this guy has 83.5-inch wingspan, 34 5/8 arms, 10 3/8 hands. He is a length monster, and he can use it with some explosion to disrupt inside. And I think what Dan Quinn would think is, I can take this, like Chauncey Golston, and Nashawn Wright. They weren't like big players at the college level, but he wants to take guys that he thinks he could coach up, that have those frames and those tools that he can coach into a big time player. And so he would be one that I would really look for Dallas to consider. Now, he's inconsistent for me. He plays hard all game long. Like every play he's in, he plays hard, but he wasn't in a lot. Alabama rotated him a lot, and he was inconsistent. Like, he didn't anchor great for somebody for such large arms. He has a hard time disengaging, which is just like shocking for a guy with his size and length. You would think he'd be able to stack and shed well, but he did it well sometimes, and sometimes he didn't. So I understand where Dan Quinn would go, if this guy's there 56 or whatever, I got to see how that plays out about his, spot. But if he's there at 56, maybe we get him, and I can turn him into just a monster inside with that kind of length and explosion. But on tape, I would, he worries me a little bit with his inconsistent play when I look at his tools and go, how come a lot of plays he doesn't do this like he should?
Yeah. So, but he, as far as eating a double team and run stopping, how do you feel about that?
I don't like it. I don't like how he holds up anchor wise for how long he is. And I don't believe he gets off and makes tackles consistent.
The disengaging part.
Yeah. And so versus the run is an issue, and it really shouldn't be. And that's the problem. Like, his length may lead into an explosive guy that can get you 8 sacks a year, which is important. But is it at expense of giving up a lot of runs because he can't get off a block?
So with guys of that size, at that position, are they the type where they need reps, like they need to get in the flow in order to better disengage, set anchors and stuff, or should they have the physical tools just to be ready, stay ready, regardless if it's 60% of snaps or 40% of snaps?
I think there's only so much you could do if you're a coach and you believe your guy doesn't have the stamina, because he played hard. There's no question. Every play he's in, he plays hard. He was just taken out a lot. And so was Barmore last year. So, maybe that's just a strategy with Alabama. Hey, we got a ton of great defensive tackles. Keep them fresh. And then when they get in the league, they could play more. But Dallas is a rotation team. They use a heavy rotation. So I don't think that will bother Dallas at all. it doesn't bother me. I think defensive tackle is hard to play. So, taking on double teams all the time and the way they have to work, I like having 3-4 guys that could do the job and rotating them out.
Yeah, I'd agree. Well, we saw the success that our defensive line had with that philosophy, keeping guys fresh, and it was nice to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think the pass rush started to go down a little bit when we started to rely on, like, we would use our guys, and then on third downs, Tank would move inside and maybe Parsons would come to the edge and blitz. And I think it wore down some of the guys because they were in, like, we always want Gregory, we always want Tank, and we always want Parsons in for that threat of them. But maybe it wore them down a little bit, needing to keep them in because Armstrong kind of outperformed Gregory statistic-wise towards the end of the year, the last few weeks. Maybe it had more to do with Dorrance Armstrong being fresh and Randy Gregory being, tired from having to play so much, and then Tank being tired from moving inside and having to take on guards and stuff like that. So, I like the rotation as long as your backups aren't worse than your guys when they're tired. That's really bad then.
Yeah, hey, Mike, if you guys, if y'all could just excuse me just for 1 second, I do apologize.
Uh-oh, guys. I can pick up stuff here. What do we got? God, I wish Christian Watson. I have a thing that's been waiting to be published on Christian Watson and Jermaine Johnson. Both of them are kind of out of the bag now from the Senior Bowl, which is a bummer because when I was studying, I caught them and I wanted to get them out before the Senior Bowl. I got both of them to the editor before the Senior Bowl started. But obviously, you guys all know Jermaine Johnson now, the people watching. Florida State defensive tackle that killed 17 and a half tackles for a loss, 11 and a half sacks, was just a monster versus the run, good pressure player. That should be out soon. But Christian Watson's the other guy. I read a part of me forgetting the article. I think it was Draft Scouts had a thing about the best guys coming out of the Senior Bowl, and one of them was Christian Watson. And there was a pro scout that was like, he's 6'4", 208, and he's the fastest guy out here still. Like, he legitimately is a 4'4", 4'5" player. And it's hard to get his skill set because he's 6'4" to 6'5", depending on how, we don't have his official measurements. He's a big dude at over 200. His catch radius is crazy. He's great at going up and plucking the ball. But then he has the speed to where he kick returned. He did some Ty Montgomery out of the backfield type stuff. He was in the slot all the time at North Dakota State. But he was against the North Dakota State competition too. So that plays into it. So him going into the Senior Bowl and showing his athleticism and how he stacks up to the better players, I think is going to propel him up out of the range where Dallas will want to get a wide receiver maybe, or get one like him from a smaller school. But he's a guy I want you guys to look for, because if he's really good, remember that I was one of the first ones. He was a big crush for me. So Christian Watson should be coming out soon. And then everybody knows Jermaine Johnson now. So look for those two on Cowboys Wire. And I should be getting Kyler Gordon out soon, a guy that Dallas would look to be a slot guy. He's over 6 foot. He's about 200 pounds on the dot, which Dallas looks for, but he has the skills to play the slot position, which would allow you to free up money with either an Anthony Brown or a Jordan Lewis cut. So look for those things coming up, guys.
Jahan Dotson, he's one of the smaller receivers, but he has everything that Amari does, right?
Yes, we were talking about Christian Watson.
Oh, sorry. Who are you? Thanks for covering for me, Mike. May I ask you who you're chatting up with?
I was just talking with whoever was out there. I was talking about
Gotcha.
I know how to sell my shit, sir. Cowboys Wire. My articles are coming out. The minute you got away, if there's one thing we've learned is that I can talk. So you can step away for like 5 minutes and I'll fill the time running my mouth. So that's one thing good.
Well, forgive me. I thought you were talking about Jahan Dotson, but man, to get Christian Christian Watson even later. That would be fantastic, dude.
He's a second round. He's going to be a second round guy. He's the type of guy that has the tools that after a combine where if he runs like a 4.47 at 6'4" with that catch radius, being a kick returner and a halfback, he can end up sneaking into the first round. I shit you not, even from North Dakota State. He's just so toolsy, but I think he'll go second round because the wide receiver class is pretty stacked.
Yeah, we're starting to see North Dakota State's giving us some players, Mike.
Yeah, they are. And the worry is are those players being successful enough to cause teams to go, oh, see, the school don't matter? Or are they going to look and go, well, Carson Wentz got drafted early and he had one, stellar year, that kind of thing. And then you worry about, what's going to be the effect of that on the league if the players don't keep not turning out to be good.
All right, Michael, since we're sitting here talking prospects, I'll go ahead and give you the prospect I'd like you to give me some analysis on for next week's show. I don't know if you have a pen and paper available, but I'll give you a name and the position and everything. It's going to be Gene DeLance, offensive tackle from Florida.
Okay, I'll have to go over my notes, but I've done most O-line, so I probably have notes on him. But it's not a great sign that I don't remember, because most of the guys, and I'm like, oh, Cowboys might be a person for this person. I typically keep in my head, but that one doesn't sound familiar. But I'll have something for you next week.
Yeah, because man, when I was reading over his tools and every scouting report, I'm like, how the heck is this guy like being picked in the 170s? And plus, he was part of that Florida offensive line that was, I believe, top 5, or if not the best offensive line in the nation last year. So I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, let me look him up and I'll let you know. The PFNs, Dalton Miller, shout out to Dalton Miller, and the mock draft, draft network, and what's the other one? PFF I never use, but those things are sometimes a little behind on these. Like Dwayne Johnson was going in the 40s, and then by the time the Senior Bowl was over, it was like top 10. So, stuff will switch quick. So I'll look into Gene DeLance, and I'll let you know next week.
Yes, sir. All right, Mike. Well, of course, it's Super Bowl week, and a popular thing to have, whether it be just your typical Sunday football game or during the Super Bowl, it's chips and dip. So that's what our top 5 category is going to be this week. It doesn't have to necessarily be a chip, obviously. Whatever you use for that dip. So, Mike, start us off with your number 5.
Number 5 is going to be a pairing of like a chili cheese dip. So you make homemade chili, but then you melt, like Velveeta would be a good one. The block cheese to cut in and dice up, drop it right in the chili, and then serve that with Ritz. I believe is like a special one. Now there's plenty.
Oh, really?
Oh, I love Ritz with chili. Crush Ritz up in the next bowl of chili you get.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, good. Trust
me.
I've
never even heard of that, dude. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm a fat guy, dude. I'm a fat guy that cooks. Like Super Bowl is like a holiday for me, not just for football.
Right.
Because we know something special. Like I'll probably do Cubanos and brine some chicken wings. And like we have like 4 or 5 things we eat, even if it's just me and Mitchell. We'll just load it up.
Throw down.
At it. Yep.
Yeah, for me, Mike, it's going to be queso and those thin, like really thin tortilla chips that are typically salty. Like, I don't know, you haven't been to an Uncle Julio's. I think I also said I don't think you said you were familiar with Papacitos either, correct? Okay, sorry. But yeah, they have the best thin tortilla chips. I think how familiar are you with Chili's? Like even back in the day when it was good.
Yeah, I know Chili's. That one I know.
Their type of tortilla chips, I don't know when's the last time you've been there, but they have those really thin ones.
Thin cantina style is what they're called.
Yes, cantina.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my favorite to go with the queso. But number 4 on my list, I'm going with the ruffled potato chips, just plain, and the French onion dip.
French onion dip. So I have a question. How many of these do you make, and how many are you like, I bought French onion dip, or I went to the restaurant and got them? I don't want to give away your list, but is there a dip that you make yourself, or that somebody makes? Maybe it's not on your list, maybe it is. If it's on your list, then save it. But if there's one that like you make, but it's not on your list, which one is it?
One that I make that's not on my list.
Do you have one on your list that you make?
Yeah, I've got one, two,
Save it.
three.
Okay, save it.
I mean, I make queso, but maybe that was a little too generic because my favorite queso is probably going to be like the Uncle Julio's Papacitos type. But man, homemade queso, just get a can of Rotel and Velveeta, dude. You're good. You're good.
Seriously, it is really. It's amazing how easy dips are.
I love chips and dips so much, dude.
Yep.
Okay, so what's number 4 on your list?
Caramelized onion dip with sour cream and onion chips.
Ooh,
that mix is.
That sounds great, dude.
Caramelized onion dip is so underrated. Like caramelizing onions, just gives them such a great taste. And then I typically can't have the caramelized onions a little bit in there. So what I do is I caramelize the onions. I take some aside for myself. Then I have to blend it. Otherwise, if my dad sees onions, he won't eat it. And I'm a good son. So if we're doing a Super Bowl party or something, I want him to eat whatever. So I'll blend it into the dip. And then when I take my dip to the side, then I'll mix in some caramelized onions. So I have that as I eat it.
Well, what's the base of that dip?
Oh man, I have to go through it on my, it's caramelized onions, and then some sort of cream cheese would be in there.
Yeah.
And then I have a specific recipe for it, but it's in my cookbook. I would have to look it up. I take recipes that I do and put them in a little Disney covered cookbook. It's so like 11 years old, but I don't care. Look at my background. I'm like a 10-year-old. So yeah, I have a cookbook and it's in there, but the one that I like, I don't know it exactly. It is one that I have to look up to get, because it's a cookbook with like 170 recipes in it. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, anything I make that I like, whether it's, I took another recipe and zhuzhed it up or did something like that, I put it in there and I make a thing out of it and put it in the little binder for it. So I'll have to get back to you on that, Paul. I apologize.
No, you're good.
Pie specific.
So what's number 3 on your list, Mike?
Number 3 is guac and chips, and I make my guacamole.
Guac.
Yeah, guac and chips is like I know it's easy, but if you make good guacamole, it's not.
There's never enough if it's good, dude.
Yes, it just depends on if you make it well. If you make it well, guac and chips can be number 1. If you just do basic shit, then you're gonna think it's just a throwaway. If you just get guacamole from the where you rip the plastic off the top and then dump it in a thing and eat, then it's just like guac and chips. But if you do it right, it's stellar.
If avocados weren't so expensive, I'd probably eat a lot more guacamole. Guacamole is not on my list. Spoiler alert, but I mean, it's such an underrated dip, dude.
It is. Yeah. As a person who eats, I'd say at least 2-3 avocados a week. Expensive.
Yeah. So Mike, number 3 for me, I'm going with it can be tortilla chips, it can be pita bread. It's really good with baby carrots, but I love spinach and artichoke dip, sir.
Spinach and not what I thought you were going with when you first said pita chips and carrots. I did not think
really
spinach and artichoke. Yes, hummus is where I thought you were
hummus
going.
And baba ganoush were really close to making the list. I actually like baba ganoush more than hummus, but hummus is up there for sure.
I tried to make baba ganoush once and I hated it, and I think I messed it up, but now it's like a thing in my head that I won't. I
try.
Yeah, I won't get it. I need to try. The problem is when I go out, there's other things that I'd rather have, and then I'm scared to make it because it was so bad last time, and I thought I did all the steps right, and I just didn't like it, and so I was like, I was worried about it. So but spinach and artichoke, I'm surprised that didn't make my list. That is really good. Guac kind of is the juxtaposed to that. Typically you have one or the other, really.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, I was close to having guacamole, but I'm like, okay, of the two, I think I eat queso more, and if I could only have one, I probably would choose queso.
Queso didn't make mine. I don't know how queso, I guess queso did, and like there's cheese in my onion dip, there's cheese in the chili dip, there's cheese in another one coming up. So I mean, there's queso in there, but a straight queso dip didn't make mine, which is surprising.
So, Mike, for number 2 on my list, I'm going with the Ritz cracker. And I don't know how familiar you are with like the cheese balls, but I made, I deconstructed the cheese ball and just made a dip out of it one time. And I've only had it once since then, but I've had plenty of cheese balls. But that dip became my second favorite dip of all time.
Hey, Ritz crackers on the list twice too.
Yes, sir. Love Ritz crackers, bro.
So you deconstructed it. So you took the stuff that would go into the cheese ball, but then melted it down.
I wouldn't say, I mean, softened cream cheese and sour cream and everything and blended it. But it was, dude, it was a hit with the
You're
family
gonna have
too.
to send me that. I want to try that. You're gonna have to send me I don't need an exact recipe, but if you have the idea of the ingredients, I can figure it out.
No, I got you. Yeah, for sure. I still have the recipe saved on my phone. I probably will be making it this Sunday because, man, even if you make too much, dude, it's so good. Like it won't last that long.
Send it to me.
I got you. What's number 2 on your list?
Number 2 is pizza dip and breadsticks. So
okay,
this is
pizza dip?
Yeah, so this is marinara sauce, typically pepperoni, fried pepperoni on top, mozzarella cheese, baked, and then it's like a pizza if you use the breadsticks and you dip it in there. It's like you're basically eating pizza, but it's a little different because like I like to get fry the pepperoni, get it like real crisp. So you have like regular pepperoni in the sauce, and then fried on top to give you a little bit of texture. Mouth is watering. Wow.
I love it when you get a pizza and you get like, if a pizza place does it right, they get those little burnt pepperonis on there, dude.
And imagine you take a stack of the pepperoni, dice it into thin strips, and then just fry it in a little oil, and right on top. So you get like a great abundance of that.
Oh man, that sounds phenomenal.
It's so good. That's why it's number 2.
Oh, so I mean, as far as these breadsticks go, are these homemade? Is this frozen? What are we doing here?
Honestly, breadsticks, I don't need homemade. You can get the ones. What you do is zhuzh up, the stuff. So you get whatever box ones you have, brush it with butter, garlic powder or garlic salt on it, salt and pepper, and then bake it. That's it. Easy.
Maybe slide over to your spot, Little Caesars, and get that crazy bread, right?
I love that. Yes, the crazy bread's good. Olive Garden's breadsticks. I don't care.
Oh my God, dude.
I know we make fun of it. It's not real Italian food or whatever that, and I'm a food snob. I'll kill me some Olive Garden. I ain't even gonna lie about it. I'll destroy it.
Hey, dude, no shame in my game. I think they have some of their dishes are really good and some are not good, but some of their dishes are actually really good. It's just overpriced for what it is.
I agree. 100%. I agree.
That Zuppa Toscana, bro. In the winter, my God.
Yeah, man. Just the breadsticks with anything. The breadsticks I'm in for.
Right. All right, Mike, here we are at number 1. What's number 1 on your list?
Hummus and falafel. And you guys should have guessed this by how many times on Meatless Monday I'm like falafel pita. I love falafel and I love dipping it in hummus and any kind of hummus, roasted garlic hummus, red pepper hummus, regular hummus. It's just delicious. And the Daphne's hummus and falafel is probably the main reason I have put on over 10 pounds since I started working there. I just destroy because I can get away with it on Meatless Monday, and it's amazing. So falafel and hummus for me is number 1.
All right, Mike. So number 1 on my list, I'm curious if you've actually had this dip, but here I'm going with the thicker tortilla chip because this is a thicker dip, but the thick tortilla chip, and some people call this crack dip. Some people just call it sausage dip. I don't know if it actually has a name, but it's cream cheese, rotel and ground sausage all melted and blended together. And it sounds really plain, but it will knock your socks off, sir.
If you understand the flavor that comes with cream cheese, the flavor that comes in the rotel, and the flavor that comes with sausage, you could. I've never had that, and I'm telling you, I'm like, oh my god, that sounds amazing.
You should make it this Sunday, dude. Seriously, it's lick the bowl, like lick the skillet, like get your chip and you're scraping like the last bits off the skillet. Good.
The one thing, it's the rotel chili.
Rotel, like the tomatoes, jalapenos, and onions.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm just making sure that it's Hormel chili.
Yeah,
that's where my mind went. Yeah, the rotel. Yeah, I could do that then. That would work. So it's cream cheese, the rotel, and then sausage. And then what is it, like spicy Italian sausage?
You can do that. Spicy would be great. I just usually use mild because my wife, she doesn't really care for the taste of fennel. So Italian sausage isn't her thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. You got to brat it up for her. Bratwurst.
Oh, never thought about that, dude. I haven't had a good brat in a while.
So good. We had brats last week. I don't know if I ate one, but I know we cooked them last week.
Man, with sauerkraut and the spicy mustard.
All day, bro. All day.
Super jealous.
I'm going to be doing Cubanos. So I'm going to smoke a pork loin, and then I'm going to make some homemade pickles, little mustard, little Swiss cheese, and then panini it. I think that's going to be part of the Super Bowl menu this Sunday.
So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we ranked our sandwiches, but when you build your Cubano, do you have the mustard and the pickles on the same side?
I would probably mustard both sides and then put pickles on. Ooh, tough. I don't know. Pickles on top or on bottom. Probably under the pork. That way you can. It's at the last part where you bite through the pickle. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do the pickles under the pork, and I'd mustard probably both sides. I also mustard the pork so that the seasoning sticks to it better.
Okay, because I can't, man. Every time I get a Cubano, man, they put mustard and pickles together, and it's just like, this is all I taste is sour.
I don't want to have a Kavanaugh moment, so I'm going to plug this in. Kavanaugh. I love him.
We're wrapping things up anyway, sir.
Yeah, I know. Just it looks like it could be any time. So it's like, I am sitting gone. Clear.
Yeah, well, Mike, before you go dying on us, let the people know where they can find you on Twitter.
At CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy. Look how cute I was as a kid. Hold on. Can you see it? Where is it? How do I do it? See me up there with Mickey Mouse, my little brother.
I can barely see child Mike, but I look at my son. I'm like, dude, you're the cutest kid I've ever seen.
He was so cute. I got to see him today for the first time in a while. Adorable, sir. 6 teeth in.
Yes, sir, man. It's crazy. Yeah, there's some pictures of me when I'm his age. It's like splitting image.
It's insane.
I feel bad for
him. Just wait. You're 12 years away from him hating you half the time.
Oh man, he I don't know. Sometimes I feel like he hates me because he loves that mama, dude.
Yeah, he's gonna be a mama's boy, and it's a boy too. So you're gonna be even more upset about it. You're gonna be like,
and then great. Watch him become an Eagles fan.
No, that ain't no. Come on, dude. Don't end the podcast like that. We were just talking about sandwiches.
We should have that conversation. Like, what would you do if your son grew up to be an Eagles fan or a Giants fan or just didn't like the Cowboys or something?
That's why I didn't have kids. Kids.
You can't take those chances, right?
Yeah, no, I ain't doing that. I will beat my son to death if he's not a Cowboys fan.
I think that's a good place to end it, sir.
I was worried about getting canceled for the talk about Brian Florez, and now I've just murdered my son on YouTube. I would murder a baby if it was an Eagles fan.
I can assure you I'm not going to hurt my son regardless of the sports team that he roots for. You might be able to find some of his pictures on Twitter. You can find me there on Paul_Ryan15. I appreciate you guys joining us, and we'll see y'all next week.